Well, it's springtime, and so it feels like it's time to talk about Paris. Also because our friend is here, everyone. Welcome,
Hi, everybody.
Kate Clayborn.
My favorite place to be.
People are always like, how do you get to be a guest on Fated Mates? We're like, well, there are like 4. They're in rotation, and also
I came in at the ground floor.
Exactly. I was trying to remember this morning which book you came for. Sexclamation points.
No, it was before that. Remember when you did the brother's best friend or
Brother's
whatever?
best friend.
Oh, you didn't come for an IAD book.
No, and then I came for Sexclamation points, which is legendary. A legendary episode.
I'm honestly surprised that this book was not the Paris match! Exclamation point. I mean, what a missed opportunity that was.
Everybody's Sexclamation points is a very particular kind of sex writing where it's so good that it ends up in all caps with exclamation points.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we really did. That was a deep grammatical dive in that episode, and I don't think people appreciate
really academic work going on.
I don't think people appreciate the work we did.
Everybody can go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it? It was the player.
Yeah.
Our favorite. We still have a group chat, everyone. It's the only group chat that I have that hasn't been renamed.
Yeah,
I think I tried to rename it once, and Kate was like,
"Absolutely
not.
It just felt wrong.
It can't."
And now
so it's been that way now for 8 years or whatever.
My 12-year-old is always like, "What does it mean?" And I'm like, "Someday you'll understand."
You're not ready for the deep lore.
Anyway, welcome everyone to Fated Mates. I'm Sarah McLean. I read romance novels and I write them.
I'm Jennifer Prokop, a romance reader and editor.
And we are here with our friend, Kate Clayborn, author of many amazing books, but most recently, The Paris Match. No exclamation point.
No exclamation
Exclamation point implied.
Yeah, exclamation point in my heart.
I would actually venture to guess that in all of your however many books, you have probably never included an exclamation point.
I think I have.
Ever in your whole writing career?
No, I think I have, but very rarely, and normally to express like shock or frustration.
Yeah.
I've never used it in a sex scene.
There's always time.
So, there's a next book, Kate.
Next time.
But there's sort of a rule about exclamation points that like you don't overuse them. You shouldn't well, I mean, at least in some circles.
But the point of the Sexclamation points episode was that it was almost like it was almost subversive, the exclamation point use. It was sort of like these exclamation points, I don't know.
Yeah.
They might be a feminist statement.
Who knows?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But also
there's more work to be done.
Like the who's Cormac McCarthy, if you will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Cormac McCarthy would never put an exclamation point in a sex scene.
Cormac McCarthy doesn't believe in writing women. Cormac McCarthy doesn't believe in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm not a exclamatory person generally. So maybe that's maybe like next year, my word of the year will be like exclamation. And I'll just try to live my life that way.
Out loud.
Yeah.
When I got copy edits, or I think copy edits on These Summer Storms, there is a moment in These Summer Storms where I use an interrobang, which is, for anybody not listening, or not, well, no, for anybody listening who doesn't know, is when you put a question mark and an exclamation point next to each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever used an interrobang before, but it was, I don't know, for some reason relevant, and I felt it is important in this moment to use an interrobang. The Storms are sort of that kind of family. Sure. And I got a note from the copy editor that said it is Random House does not. It is like policy at Random House that we don't use interrobangs.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, what? I've never met
but it's required.
I've never met a punctuation policy. This is my 21st book.
Now, I think a good use of the interrobang in romance history, I'm pretty sure in Indigo.
Yeah, I bet
Beverly Jenkins uses interrobang often when like Hester is like responding to something, like she'll be like, Galen? And it's like
There. See?
I love
there's
curious punctuation.
And I had to text my editor and I was like, is this for real? And she was like, well, I've never heard of this policy. And I was like, can I stat the interrobang? And she was like, yeah, of course you can. So there is an interrobang in Storms, and everybody please know that I did intend it more than once.
Yeah, you're like, I mean it. I
really like looked at the text and felt it was there. But
I do think, interrobang is probably the punctuation mark of the current time we're living in.
Yeah,
it's sort of
every
like
day.
It's the
What?
it really captures something.
I'd say that's true. As a middle school teacher, I have a very, very fraught relationship with exclamation points because
I bet.
Obviously, like, no one loves. Listen to me when I tell you this. There's nothing I've ever said as true as what I'm about to say, which is no one loves an exclamation point like a 13-year-old girl. No one.
Well, that's an exclamatory time in life.
In writing and in life.
Correct. And the thing I used to sort of say all the time was kind of like, your punctuation cannot actually do the work of writing for you. You know what I mean? Like the words are what matters. Like you can't, 17 exclamation points is not going to actually make this a better,
so then is that when they then move into adverbs?
That's when they move into adverbs.
When you're like, no more exclamation points, so adverbs just explode.
Yeah. And you know what? Listen, I find myself, when I'm writing emails to people, I am often like, okay, I need to take half these exclamation points out. Like, great. Excited to work with you. You'll get this back from me in a month. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, wait, what? Well,
this is why I feel like we do actually need a middle punctuation, like between the period, which feels sometimes like too terse.
Yeah.
And the exclamation point, which is just over the top. Like
I'm
not exclaiming that I'm happy to work with you, but I'm not like I'm
happy to work with you.
I am like genuinely.
I don't mean it sarcastically.
Exactly.
You know who would never use an exclamation point? Griffin Testa.
Oh,
I'll tell you what. No, he wouldn't.
I mean, they probably burn off the page when he looks at them.
Does he have access to the emoji keyboard? Does he even know emojis?
Yeah,
are there?
Boy, when I really think about it, I've never written a hero that seems like an emoji type. I don't really have to think about that in therapy or something. But yes, Griffin Testa, the hero of the Paris match, likely does not use the emoji keyboard, nor does he exclaim.
No.
I think that is just not the move for Griffin.
No, and
he has other ones.
And we love him for it. So let's talk about Griffin's book, The Paris Match, which is out right now, everybody.
You can go get it.
You can go get it. Tell us, Kate, a little bit about how The Paris Match came to be.
Well, The Paris Match, I think, came to be like a lot of my books do, where I was like thinking about sort of something thematically or something I was interested in the culture. And that kind of collided with like a character idea that I had and a setting that I had in mind. But I was really, I've been kind of interested for several years in the phrase amicable divorce, which is like, I think a really nice idea in theory. It's like a really beautiful idea when you hear about like couples who have been married and they split and they are like, and we stayed friends and like we still get together at holidays. And I think that's like sounds so nice. But I just feel like I had been hearing the term more and more and more. And I suppose I'm at the point where I've like started to think of this phrase as like a tool of the patriarchy.
Right. Like this happened, be agreeable about it.
Yes. I mean, I think when it becomes like a new standard that you have to meet, right? That like, you have to go through something traumatic and you have to be nice about it. And really, like, as I've kind of said, I think that there's one group in our society that is like more socialized to be truly amicable. And I don't think it's men. So I just think this phrase amicable divorce becomes this like pressure point, right? Like, this is now the way you have to do divorce right.
Our mother's generation would never.
Yes.
These women are like, I'm still fucking I'm still angry.
Yeah. So that is kind of like the impetus for the book. I mean, that might seem like a strange thing to be thinking about for a romance novel, but like, I think in my books, I'm always sort of interested in those kinds of like gender norms or expectations, and how they play into like the way we move in the world and the way we love. And so that is where the initial idea came from. And I also have always wanted to write about Paris. It's like a place I think we have a really interesting relationship to generally. But I didn't quite know how I would do it. And then when I was thinking about this thing related to divorce, I thought, this is it. This is the idea.
So let's talk about Paris. I mean, it feels like a city that is made for a romance novel in some way in our heads. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of why.
I mean, I think it's made for like romance. I think like the idea of just like, you know, walking down, you know, holding hands next to the Seine and like the street light. I mean, you know what I mean? I think like there's and I don't think it's just romance novels. Don't you think that's just like far broader? Like that's
right. The mythology of Paris.
I mean, like a story I was thinking about, and I don't remember if it was like an actual like interview with Gwyneth Paltrow or something I read. Like I don't remember like if it was like a video or whatever. I mean, is her saying when she was like a teenager, her father took her to Paris and said to her, this way you will always have seen Paris for the first time with a man who will never stop loving you. You know what I mean? Like like it won't be a man who will break your heart later and then will ruin Paris for you. No one will ever be able to ruin Paris for you that way. And I always thought about that as being like, I thought about that a lot, like with this book, right? Like not necessarily like, but Layla going back to the place where she and Jamie had, you know, themselves had this experience of Paris, and then like now Jamie's sister is getting married there, right? And so like all those things. So I did think about that story a lot. This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by Claire Wilder, author of Nailed.
So Sarah Cooper is a career-driven, divorced construction manager with a Silver Fox boss who has been kind of a jerk lately. So the thing is that he hasn't always been a jerk to her. In fact, they were once friends and they once cared about each other. And then there was that time, like right before they were friends, when they were something else entirely for one night. But they have put all of that aside. They are working together. And she can't really figure out what the deal is. But this grumpy silver fox, Jamie, has invited her to join him at a career catapulting conference over the holidays. And Sarah's excited because she is ready to move on. She's ready to move up. This is going to be a great networking opportunity. And also, P.S. on the side, going to show Jamie just what he is missing when she quits. Problem is, being in close proximity with her boss for this long weekend indicates that like maybe there's a reason why he's being such a grump to her and not to anybody else. This close proximity is reminding both of them exactly what's happened in their past. And it's going to be, I think, a pretty sexy weekend.
All right. So if you would like to read this small town contemporary romance with an age gap between grown characters and clinical levels of yearning,
Love it.
then Nailed is for you. If your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book, which is available in print, or with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited. Thanks to Claire Wilder for sponsoring this week's episode.
I don't know about you guys, but like when I was younger, I think this was like informed by the fact that I did not have the means or the opportunity to travel when I was younger. So like I would see pictures of Paris or I would see it on TV or in movies. And so the idea I had of it was that very romantic idea, right? That I would be like in a cafe and like there'd be like music playing and the light would be like pink and gorgeous, right? Like that is how it lived in my head. And I just think like one of the most fascinating things about travel generally is like when you go to a place and it either lives up to what you've seen in your head or it's better or it's different or whatever. And I was like sort of fascinated by that. I think like the first time I went to Paris, I was really starry-eyed about it. And when I went back, it was like I could see the city differently. It was like easier for me to experience it differently. And I love that about the human experience. I love how we change in relation to places. I think that's very fascinating. And it is just like it's a beautiful place. Like it is a beautiful place.
Paris really shows.
Yeah, but it's also like complicated and it can be like gritty and interesting. And yeah, I love it there. It was a really amazing place to write about, even though I was constantly afraid I was getting it wrong.
Well, this balance that Layla has of like showing Griff what Paris, like she shows Griff Paris in a lot of ways, but she's also relearning it, like you talked about. And I think cities, especially cities that we don't entirely know, or that, like you said, we sort of know in our heads, but don't know with our feet, can really be revelatory for us as people. Like they show us the things that we do care about in a lot of ways, and I think what's interesting is, you know, Jen's in Chicago, I'm in New York. You have a like Parisian, you love Paris. And
yes,
I wonder, like, what have you learned from Paris? What has Paris taught you about writing, about love, about you?
You know, I think like one of the things I write about in the book is, I mean, I tried to do it with a somewhat light touch, but like, you know, there's a lot of art in Paris, like not just in the museums, which are of course incredible, but Paris is artistic in terms of like the clothing, right? Like obviously there's like, you know, beautiful designers there, but like people on the street in Paris, their clothing is beautiful in some way. You know, if you walk into like a patisserie, like there's beauty in those glass cases. Like everything in Paris to me feels like art. And I guess the times I've been there have reminded me like how personal our relationship to art and beauty is. And I tried to write a little bit about that in the book, that like when Griff and Layla encounter pieces of art or encounter sort of like moments of beauty in this place, that it makes them think about their own experiences, think about the experiences of people around them. It like alters their humanity. And for me, like that is something Paris has meant to me. I think it is like a place that altered my humanity.
I was rereading the scene this morning where they go to the Rodin Museum, and you know, like the day before in the book, like they go to Versailles. I mean, so there also is, but then there's also these scenes where they're just literally like walking down streets, right? Her favorite kind of, you know, I like the street, and I like, you know, there's one day where they just take like this epic like walk through Paris. So one of the things I've never been to Paris, but I did really feel like your love for Paris in this place, and also that it didn't feel like,
I mean, okay, so sometimes you read a book that's set in a place, but you can tell that that's just like sort of in name only. And so like how did you go about how do you go about capturing like the setting in such a different way, like such a profound way? And then like why, like would it have, when you choose the Rodin Museum, for example, over the Louvre, right? Is obviously the gates of hell are there, which is like this one specific piece of art that it becomes meaningful. But why, like, were you trying to essentially say to the reader, like, there's more to this place, or just show like how deep Layla's like love and devotion to this place really was?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a way in which I was trying to, I mean, like, they don't go to the Eiffel Tower, for example. Right. And, like that's intentional. I think throughout the book, and I mean, I try to do this with my other books, and like, I hope I'm successful. It was obviously like very important with a book like Love Lettering too. Like something I try to think about all the time when I'm writing is like, the set is not a green screen, which like, I mean, like green screen technology is like really amazing now. So like a lot of times you can watch a show and there's like,
like famously in Heated Rivalry, there's a scene where they're on like on top of a building looking over Las Vegas, and it's not. They're standing in front of a screen, right?
Yes. And I mean, that technology now is so amazing, right? But I feel like once you know about that, or you're attuned to it, the setting looks a specific way to you, right? And so like as I'm trying to make a book that is about setting as like a character, sort of part of the love story, I'm like trying to think a lot about like all of my senses all the time. So like the most recent time I went to Paris, like my notes are just like full of how it felt to like touch something, or what this street smelled like, or whatever. And like most of it is not in the book, but that's like, I have to stay engaged that way, or else I feel like what happens is like that green screen effect. Like, oh, it's just like the Eiffel Tower's in the back.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever.
Right. But this could have been anywhere, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I will say there's real pleasure in like, and I have found great pleasure in like books where Paris is like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, right. Of course. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. But because I was writing a character who was coming back to Paris with this like she was, like her memories of Paris from her honeymoon are so difficult for her. Like I think I had to do something different.
Yeah. It's interesting because what this reminds, we were talking on the Discord, the Fata Mates Discord, about like setting, right? And someone had said like, you should do a whole episode about setting. And I was like, we're going to probably be doing it in this episode. And then someone brought up Project Hail Mary, which I think all three of us have seen as being.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to give it away, but they had sort of said like, something really interesting about like the setting of it. And I was like, what's interesting about Project Hail Mary, right? Like, the plot, right? They're up in space trying to save, they're two different,
trying to save the world.
Trying to save their worlds, right? And I was like, the thing that's really interesting is like the setting is like an echo, because it's what they're trying to save that is the setting that becomes so meaningful. But then like the echo of that, like the footprint of it, is in like the way their ships are and the way they interact with each other. And it's really interesting because it's a really good example of how like you can, like there's, you take the girl out of New York, but you can't, you know what I mean? Take New York out of the girl kind of thing. And that is kind of how I think for Layla, Paris is, right, like this really like beautiful memory and also this really painful one.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us do have a relationship to certain places that is weighed by both like love and pain.
Yeah.
Right. And right. And I think that part is really interesting. And then you get Griffin, who basically is more or less like a housebound, right? Like, and so you have this really interesting kind of, you're putting two people in a place where one person just has never been there and never wants to go anywhere, right? Because of his literal physical pain, that like is something you uncover through the book. And then for Layla, you have, this is a place that I had that is full of painful memories.
Yes.
And I think like watching them remake
Paris together, right, as they fall in love is really like, I thought, I'm not a person who has ever traveled, right? But it's like one of the few books I've ever read where I was like, this makes me want to go to a place. And really, like, truly, like, I don't think I have that really in me. And like you, I think it was because I didn't have money when I was younger and, you know, like various other reasons now. And I just really was like, this makes me really understand, I don't know, something about like being in a place with people you love and making a world together in a place. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. That means a lot. I mean,
which is what romance is, I think. You're making a world together with your new lover, right?
Yeah. I mean, romance is so much like, you know, for me, like the best romance is like, has such a like strong core of like empathy. But I like the idea of extending empathy to place. Like, I know like place is not alive, right? But like
I don't necessarily. Yeah, I mean, it is alive. I mean, in the hand. Listen, it's alive for those of anybody who's ever walked into a place and like felt the weight of it, or like Jen said, like there are places. You know, there's a great Edna St. Vincent Millay poem, right, where she says like, there are 100 places where I fear to go. So with your memory they brim. Yeah. But then when entering a quiet place where I'm not gonna recite it, but she says, you know, when you enter a place and we were not here together. Yeah. I am, you know, there is no memory of him is the first thought that she has, right? So I do think like place is people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, you know, Griff, like to your point, Jen, like he has so intentionally not gone to any places in like a decade, right? Like and so like writing a moment where Griff is like looking at Notre Dame, right? And like he's thinking about fire, he's thinking about like smoke damage, he's, you know, like that place is so connected to his humanity, right? I think it's like, it's beautiful to have an experience like that. That's kind of part of what I mean about like the Paris is about art to me. And like, yeah.
It's also a city that, you know, for all the ways that people talk about Parisians, it's also a city that does sort of deeply, like many big cities, like it really accepts all kinds. Yeah. You know, I mean, there is a space for you in Paris, whoever you are.
Yeah.
And I think
now, I have to say, no one has ever been unfriendly to me in Paris. Like I know people have like great stories.
People love to talk about Parisians.
But like
they're not. Yeah.
Or it could be, and I'll be really honest here, it could be that like maybe a Parisian person has been unfriendly to me, but I am so Midwestern that
you don't even
was like, I was
they probably
like,
just having a rough day.
Were trying to help, you know.
I don't know. I don't feel like I've been to Paris several times, and I don't feel like Parisians are ever any. I think they're just like New Yorkers. Like,
they're just busy living their own life.
What do you like? Is there something you need right now? Like, can we cut the?
but as with when I come to New York, and I'm like walking down the street saying hi to people.
Yeah. Somebody I read
it's such a nice day, isn't it?
I read an article yesterday, or like it was maybe on Threads, but somebody was like, I was 8.5 months pregnant in New York City, and I fell on the sidewalk, like, and it was a bad fall, and 2 people walked out of the like store that I fell in front of, picked me up. One woman hailed a cab, got her into the cab, and then like paid the cab driver cash to take her to the hospital. And she's like, I have no idea who any of these people were. Then they all like,
then went back to their lives.
They're like, fuck off. And like,
is the difference that like I would get in the cab?
Yeah,
and,
no,
like,
that lady was not going with her.
Get the whole life story of the person, stay in the hospital for the rest of the day.
But that feels Parisian too. Like what?
Yeah. I mean, I think Sarah, when we did an event together about this book, which was like so amazing, and just such a thrill. I think one of the things I said was like, when I've gone to Paris, I've never even attempted to blend in. Like,
No, that's
it isn't like,
it's best. It's best.
yeah, it's just like nobody is going to buy like me with my like beautiful day out or like, oh my God,
Yeah.
look at that. Like nobody's going to buy
Yeah.
me as Parisian. So
Just
I just really leaned in.
leaned into Ohio.
My daughter and I were in London a few weeks ago, and somebody stopped her on the street and asked her for directions, and she's 12.
Wow,
And she was
amazing
like,
experience. She'll remember that forever.
Mom, they thought I was from here.
Nobody would ever ask me that in Paris. I'm too busy with my mouth open looking at everything.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by Elle Kennedy, author of Love Song.
After a brutal breakup, college junior Blake Logan has escaped to her family's lake house in Tahoe to lick her wounds and shut out the world. She has a plan for no men and no drama for the summer. Problem is, Wyatt Grimm shows up, and he is both a man and a lot of drama, largely because he drags up some pretty embarrassing memories for Blake. When she was 16 years old, she confessed a massive crush to him, and he just shattered her dreams and her pride and like took off and became a musician. With his music career stalled, however, Wyatt is back in Tahoe looking for inspiration, and the last thing he expects to find is Blake. And though he spent years kind of keeping his distance, appreciating that like he had embarrassed her when she was 16, he is now here. They are in a close proximity, and he is discovering that she is not that innocent girl anymore. He is not all wrong for her, he doesn't think. She is captivating and impossible to ignore, and these two, first they're smooching and then they're doing other stuff, and soon they are kind of into each other, except a tragedy tears them apart and leaves their hearts in pieces. Are they going to be able to forget this one perfect summer? It certainly doesn't seem so. And when fate brings them back together, they have to decide if they're going to put everything on the line for a second chance.
Ooh, so if you would like to check out Love Song, it is available in print, audio, or with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited. If your podcast app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to Elle Kennedy for sponsoring this week's episode. Even though I have not traveled widely, I have lived a lot of different places. And I do think that there is, every place is different. And I think there are places that have like this mystique. But I think the other thing that I really loved about this book is the sense that like, okay, so you're talking about like an amicable divorce, right? So this is like Layla, who has convinced herself that like it was an amicable divorce with Jamie. That's how she has like acted. And even though it's really clear from the beginning that is like that there is like a deep well of like kind of sadness and anger there. And then like being around Jamie's family is going to really bring this to the surface. But the thing that's sort of fascinating about it is that Griff is the only one who can see it, right? And there's this part where he like, he's in a lot of pain. He's like stuffs her in a cab. It's like he's really angry at himself. And sort of the next morning, Michael, who's like the groom at this wedding they're going to, is sort of being like, oh yeah, Layla said you guys had a great day yesterday. And like, it's sort of like, and he's like if a man was a golden retriever, but not in a sexy romance way, like just in kind of like a dumb, like, everything's going to turn out great because I am a nice guy, Okay. And even though, bad things have happened to him, and it's still, he's a really interesting character in that way. And Griff is like so fucking furious at the fact that like none of these people can tell how she's lying to their faces.
Yeah.
Right? Like lying to their faces about what happened between them, about her pain, about the way being here makes her feel, about the imposition this is, about, you know what I mean? All of that. And I think that there's a way in which, like, I was really interested in the way that, like, almost like going back to Paris allows her to, like, reset her relationship, right, to not just to Jamie, who's like just a shithead, but to this family that was her family,
Yeah.
and to herself, right, and like the story she gets to tell, and I was really interested in that too, in the way that place has such a, I don't know, it's like a door you can walk through.
Yes. And like that is like a sort of a theme in the book, like gates of hell, doors to, sort of like thresholds is sort of I mean, I really think that in terms of like a core story that I'm interested in telling in romance, like I'm so interested in like recognition as like one of the most romantic
Yeah.
things. Yeah. And I think that when I wrote Paris Match, I knew like I sort of I delayed giving Griffin's point of view until the fourth chapter. And it was really like a challenge in a lot of ways because for like 3 chapters, I had to make him so mean. Like it's really like I intend it to be uncomfortable, like I intend for you to think there's no way I could forgive somebody who is this like clipped, this short, this
surly,
selfish seeming or whatever.
Someone on Goodreads did point out that Griffin Testa, which is his name, is like gruff and testy. And I was like, I don't think that's why Kate did it, but I like it.
Yeah, Sarah will say Testa. I chose Testa for some other reason. You can say it, Sarah.
Because he's so good at the head.
Yes.
I was like, he has big balls? Like, what?
No, I should have said more delicately.
Here?
More delicately is he enjoys a meal.
Yes. Yes.
Griffin Testa
like every
enjoys
good
a
Italian.
meal. Exactly.
So I don't know. I think like it's intentional that like the reader cannot see him.
Yeah.
At the beginning, but like when Layla gets on that elevator with him, like she is capable of seeing something the same way he is capable of seeing something in her. So, to me, I don't know, there's something so romantic about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So my favorite romances do that.
I also feel like there are a lot of like nods to other Parisian set romances, which is like where we're going to transition to, right? Like, so I was really pleased on the cover to see them like kissing near a lamppost.
For one of my favorite romances of all time.
Oh, I mean,
right?
You
Lord
won't hear any,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I am very convinced that Layla's best friend is named Kara because of Kara McKenna.
I'll be talking about it.
Right. I mean, so I also felt like there was a lot of ways in which this was like I think all like that's true of all people who love romance, like the romances we love kind of must filter into it at some level. But it felt very like the back of the book has the lamppost is more important than the Eiffel Tower in this on this cover, right? I'll just say.
It's a literary tribute. I mean, like, I sort of said that like our sort of like psychic relationship to Paris is so complicated, but like some of that is because of literature. And like part of what is going on in the book is like, the references to Hunchback of Notre Dame or the references to Beauty and the Beast, which is sort of a classic, French. I mean, I was thinking about things like that, sort of like French literature that has shaped some of our ideas, right? But also just, I mean, like, I definitely was thinking about that lamppost. I was thinking about Dain and Jessica's first kiss. Griffin and Layla kiss in a doorway, but there's like a light above them. And so I was thinking about things like that.
I mean, it is sort of a long tradition of writing Paris.
Yes.
Both. And I would say less romance novels in a lot of ways. Like this, we're going to recommend books that are set in and around Paris, but there aren't, it's funny how France doesn't get the treatment that other countries get.
Mhm.
But even like travel, like, American, romance is sort of is willing to send you places, right? Like there's so many like destination wedding in the Caribbean or like,
Yeah.
2 weeks in, Tuscany or, there are these like, you're more likely to see that than you are in Paris. And I wonder if it is in part because it's sort of there is such a literary tradition. It's nerve wracking. Was it nerve wracking?
Yeah. I mean, yes. It's also like I'll say that like my personal understanding of Paris is like, it is kind of intellectual in nature. Like some thinkers that I really admire are like shaped by Paris. And so, yeah, like, like how much do you want to be thinking about like existentialism when you're writing a romance novel,
Well, if
right?
you're Griffin
like,
Testa, probably a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's a place with so many textures. Like there's a scene where Layla is like reading about cafe culture. Like she's thinking about when she went on her honeymoon, how she was like reading about cafe culture, and it made her kind of like long to be sophisticated, right? Like, and I think that is like an experience of being in a place like that where you're like, wow, this place is, like, I wish I could embody some things about this place, even though, you kind of know in your core you never can.
You just got to lean into being the Midwesterner in Paris.
That's right.
So let's talk about some books.
Well, I think we
What?
should start with Kara.
Oh, well, I was going to say
Yes.
we didn't talk about, I think we just need to lay the groundwork of the Champs de Elysee. The one thing that is not sort of referenced in this book is a one-footed werewolf chasing down his Valkyrie.
That is correct. That is
lover.
correct. How could I forget?
I don't honestly know.
How could I forget? Also, isn't it like, aren't they in Paris when he destroys the hotel room around her?
Yes, that's
Like
also
she's in the
Paris.
bed?
Yes. What a time.
We're talking about the first book in IAD.
Yeah.
Like
A hunger
I'm
like
sure
no
your
other.
listeners
Right?
A
know
hunger
that. Yeah.
like no other.
It's just like buried into the Champs de
In the
Elysee.
catacombs of Paris.
But also we talked about the Game Maker series, and Paris is in there too,
Yeah.
because there's always sex clubs in Paris.
That's all there is
I
in
have
Paris.
never-
That's my understanding.
I've
I
never
just think there's
experienced
one
that
on
in
every
Paris.
corner.
That's what Paris and Las Vegas have in common. Well, and there is Paris and Las Vegas. I mean, I've seen that Paris. I've been there.
Right.
You've been to
Right,
that
it's the
Eiffel
same.
Tower.
I have.
It's basically the same. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so leaving that aside, let's start with Kara. This week's episode of Fate and Mates is sponsored by Blue Box Press, publishers of Donna Grant's The Dragon Chronicles, a new collection of Dragon King's novellas.
So I love a dragon shifter, and who doesn't, frankly?
Who doesn't love a dragon shifter?
And you have not read Donna Grant, you're really missing out, because I just think that she just really loves Dragon Shifter. She has a bunch of these really fun novellas. And the first one we're going to talk about today that is being re-released today is called Dragon King as part of this Dragon Chronicles. And in this one, we have Arian. He's a dragon king. He's been, sleeping for centuries in his cave.
unbothered.
Why not? He's a dragon. He's going to have, his brethren have woken him up. We got a war. We got to go fight. There's this sort of feeling that he gets where someone has crossed into his realm or territory. And he's ready to go and, burn some shit up. But instead,
Perfect. Is it a lady?
it is. And her name is Grace.
Oh, no. She doesn't sound like a dragon.
No, she has never even stepped a foot outside the law. And so she has a book due. She's a writer, and she's found a perfect spot to break up her writer's block until suddenly a dragon shifter who is a king appears and is just basically going to whisk her away to his mountain. All of a sudden she stumbled into war. And basically this is all just perfect.
She's mortal. She's breakable. I bet he's pissed.
Yeah, she loves to be up and out doing things. He just wants to sleep away all the day.
If you love a dragon shifter, and this sounds like fun, which it does, the Dragon Chronicles are a print bind-up of 7 novellas: Dragon King, Dragon Fever, Dragon Burn, Dragon Knight, Dragon Claimed, and Dragon Lost. And you can get all of them right now in print or ebook. If your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to Donna Grant and the Blue Box Press for sponsoring this week's episode.
Yeah, so one of my recommendations is, it's by an author. Her name is Kara McKenna. She has not been writing in some time, but I will say that while she was writing, I think she was such
Oh, yeah.
a standout in the genre. She just wrote such interesting stories in a way that, like, if you go and read the blurbs, you're sort of like, how is this going to work? She really, like, sets up some interesting narratives. But the specific one that I'm going to talk about is called Curio. But like the full thing you should look for is like Curio and the vignettes.
Yes.
Because Curio was kind of like a novella, and then there were sort of subsequent novellas after it.
You said this book, you put this book in a roundup at some point about Paris.
Yeah.
And that made me reread it. And my version of it is all of them together.
Yeah, mine is
Kindle.
too.
So
Yeah.
it can be done in one shot.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll put it in show notes, everybody.
Yes. So it's about an American woman in Paris. She has like been in Paris. I think when the book starts, she's been in Paris for a couple of years. She's had a job there. But she has really struck out throughout her life on the romantic front. She has never had like a serious romantic relationship. And she has also never had sex. And she kind of like hears through the grapevine about this Parisian escort. But that is not, that's sort of the name they use as sort of like code. And she reaches out and finds this man named Didier, who is like the most handsome man she's ever seen in her life. And he lives in a beautiful Paris apartment that he never leaves. And he just does his work, his sex work from this apartment. And it's honestly, like, I think the way I referred to it in this roundup that I did was that, like, I think it's sort of graduate level romance reading. Like, it is a very, it's like a very raw text. It really challenges some of your ideas about like gender norms, but also sex work and what it means to like fall in love and think about sex and love in like new ways that you haven't understood before. I think that's very true for the heroine Carolee. And I think what you find out over the course of the book is that he has not left his apartment because he is like he has developed deep agoraphobia over time. And so it's like her awakening, but it is also his awakening. It's really beautiful. Like the Curio as sort of a standalone novella was really beautiful, but then these vignettes add all these extra layers. And I still think about it. Like it just was such an interesting text.
Yeah, I think there are Kara McKenna books that really like live in my head for sure.
Yes. Yeah. She was doing things I think that we now kind of take for granted, but as like exploring something, but like Willing Victim is a good example of that. Like when Willing Victim came out, it was really,
it was very
sort of striking, very different. So anyways, that's one of my recs. I think it's fantastic. And it's interesting to read about Paris, like a Parisian man who has not gone out in Paris for many years. It's like, it's fascinating.
Yeah, that echo, right?
Yeah.
The place is there, but not there somehow.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it true that her best friend's named Kara after Kara McKenna? Or is that just me projecting? You tell me the truth.
You know what? I think it might be true in my heart.
All right, I'll take it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think, yeah.
that just
Does
bubbled up.
does author intention really matter anymore? No.
or ever before.
Well, I mean, I do think I think there's like a powerful thing about our subconscious, right? Like the things that
I think that's right.
Like you might not have ever thought of it, but I hope that you're kind of like, oh,
Yes.
you know what? There is maybe something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because like I said, on the reread, I was like, Kara, whoa, okay. Just put it out there, Kate. Okay.
Even spelled the same. Jeez.
I mean,
I better think about myself. Kara McKenna, if you're listening,
we love you.
love you.
Okay. I am going to go with a far more wacky thing. All right. So everybody, if you know me, you know that I am very much like not an Instagram person, but I do try every week to go and check and see if there's something I need to attend to on Instagram. Like for certain, if you send me a DM on Instagram, I might never see it or I'm going to see it. Like Kate will sometimes be like, why are you liking things that are 3 weeks old? I'm like, well, because I just found this list of things. I don't know what. So anyway, I do, however, feel that this whole story I'm about to tell you is an example of fate. So I was looking at Instagram and someone named Wendy Reads, and I'll put this link in show notes, tagged me in a post where she was at like a library sale or a tag sale or something, and she was looking through essentially like old category romances. And as you know, we love an old category romance here at Fated Mates because you could just do the wackiest shit you could think of. And so she tagged me in this post with a book where she was like, what is this? And the book is called Puppets by Jenna Wright.
I'm already in it.
And I'm
already obsessed.
And I mean, there's so many things about this. So this is a Harlequin intrigue from 1992. And the other thing I was looking at is
The cover of this book, by the way, everybody.
Oh, yeah, you'll see it. I'm going to take a picture.
Is unhinged.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. And that's why I was like, you know what? It was like maybe 2 weeks before we were recording. I was like, I'm going to order this. This is somewhere.
I must have this.
I
in
must
my
have
collection.
this. And I'm going to order it from Better World Books. And I am going to just like expedite the shipping here so that I can get it in time for us to record this episode. And I've got to tell you, everything about this is wild. First of all, it has one of those like introductory copy things on the front. So this was also like a one that they were giving away to people to like lure them into the gorgeous world of Harlequin intrigue.
Puppets.
And
Why not?
The plot of this book is that a woman named Katerina LaCroix, who is from New Orleans, and it actually starts when she's 9 in New Orleans, and she's like, you know, a young girl, and she's, you know, taken care of her by her aunt and uncle, but her next door neighbor is a puppeteer, and she finds his puppets amazing, and she's like, the world is terrible, and he's like, don't worry, there's magic, just
Don't worry, there's magic in my puppets. This is so
pretty much. And
Wait,
so
the puppets are magical?
just like there's
I'm confused.
it's like whimsy.
It's whimsy. Yes.
Oh.
Like the
Oh.
world is hard, but there's magic
these
in things.
but-
Yes.
Puppets are magical.
And I'm going to be honest with you, everybody.
Lowercase
No one
m
is ever going to
magical.
read this book. It is not an ebook. This is an older black man. And I was like, oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. So anyway, there's a very weird thing where it's like 15 years later. So now she's 24 and her husband has died, David, and she's like been married for 4 years. And I was like, yeah, but what? And then he's just dead. And then we pick up in Paris. And it's 3 years later.
I love these old books because at the end of
Yes.
every chapter, it should just say, don't worry about it. And it's moving on.
3 years.
That's
Wait,
not
he's
gonna
been
matter.
dead. He's been dead for 3 years, and now she's in Paris.
Yes. So now
But
she's 27.
20 Oh,
Now-
okay.
she was
Got it.
24.
No, okay.
The husband died.
I'm barely hanging on. Go on.
Everybody, I am in the first chapter, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, these books.
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
no fucks to give. Now,
Anytime
meanwhile,
anybody's
These are-
like, too
these
much
are the
plot,
sacred
I'm like,
texts.
fuck off.
at the beginning in the author's description, it does say that this is an homage and about her love of Phantom of the Opera. So I was like, well, is there anything more 1992 than that statement?
No.
Probably not. So
Oh my God.
Is the main character's name Christine?
it's Katerina.
Katerina. Close.
Katerina. All right. Then we pick up, and it's 3 years later. Now, this is this woman's job. During the day, she gives tours at this theater that is renowned through Paris. and it's called the Puppet Theater. And she has tours to people. There's like catacombs underneath the building, but they're secret. Nobody knows about them. And then at night, all of the people who give tours during the day get on stage and like dance, like, but they're dressed like puppets.
At no point did I anticipate it was going to stop. No,
I don't know what word is coming next ever.
No, you might be like, wait, but it's a Harlequin intrigue, so what's going on?
Where's the hero?
So, okay, I'm about to tell you, girls.
Girls. Girls, calm down.
Miss Jen.
Okay. Okay, so listen. The hero's name is Raoul. Everybody thinks...
Like Phantom of the Opera. Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't even know what to tell you. It's so crazy. So anyway, there's been a murder. One of the puppet girls has been murdered.
One of the puppets has been killed.
And everybody thinks
she had her
it's Raoul.
strings cut. It was a big deal.
Correct. And everybody thinks that Raoul did it because they saw him.
Wait, why? Who's Raoul?
He's the hero.
love interest.
I know, but what?
They saw him standing over the body with a knife.
How's he involved with the puppet theater?
He's an architect or something. He's
an architect.
He's rebuilding the theater because it's like an old theater. Okay. Anyway, listen.
Don't worry about
Long story short, too late. She hears Katerina's in her room. She hears this music. It's from underneath the theater. She goes down underneath the theater. Everybody's been looking for Raoul. They think he's the murderer. She finds him down there, and he's like, "I'm not the murderer." They have like a sexy
Is he
interlude.
like playing piano in the catacombs?
Yes, something like that. It's all very confusing. I will admit to you, I really did. Then there was like a bunch of intrigues. Some of the other dancers have been the rich people who come to the theater. They're stealing from them. And then there's like a bad woman named Babette, who's like one of the other dancers. And there's like a lot going on. And then I honestly just skipped to the end because I was like, what is happening here? And basically one of the puppets has come alive and is like,
one of the puppets has come alive.
Yes, he's the puppet master.
So they are magic puppets.
Yes, they are.
So the old man from the beginning is the puppet master?
No,
there's a new guy.
He was just a neighbor.
He was just a neighbor. He just
introduced her to the world of puppets.
Oh,
forget about that.
We don't know.
You guys, here's what I'm going to tell you. There was a murder. There's people stealing. These Raoul and Katerina figure out who the murderer is and fall in love and bring down the bad, evil puppet master who is a real puppet.
Yeah.
That's it.
Of course.
And that's the end.
Wait, so what do they do with all these puppets? Do they burn them? What happened?
Well,
I don't want these puppets left over.
You guys want to talk to you? I don't want to be like this, but I actually know a lot about puppet theater.
Wait, what?
In Paris.
My God.
Okay, amazing.
All right. Do it.
Tee it up. I'm going to send you this
I'm
book.
not going to do too much, but like in the
heard it
early
here
modern
first.
period, like in the early modern period in the Renaissance.
Breaking news.
So, England is always like a little bit behind what's happening on the continent, right?
Yeah.
And when the theaters shut down in England because of the Puritans and like the Revolution and Cromwell and all this stuff, there's like this surge of puppet theater, and a lot of it came from like
Punch and Judy
like
style.
Paris, like the Parisians were like doing stuff with those puppets.
Yeah, no, that is, I mean, clearly it was I was like, I think this is based on real thing. Like in the catacombs, he's found all these old puppets and they're all like, yeah. And like, here's the part though. I did mark this one amazing line. And that's when I was like, I can't read this anymore. She is looking at all of these like old puppets that he found. It says old feelings of magic and make-believe stirred inside her. She heard Luther's gentle voice again as she stared at the puppets. Haunting portraitures of the human condition. And I was like, okay. Not portraits, portraitures. Anyway, that was Puppets by Jenna Ryan. It's
level.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, it was intense.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It really honestly was something else.
Talk about setting as character.
The Phantom of the Opera,
my next novel,
had a chokehold on people in the 90s. It really did.
But also imagine, like right now, people are always like, "Oh, New York, the editors, they're turning everything down."
No, they were like puppet theater in Paris.
Theater? Yeah,
Harlequin Intrigue was like, Let's make this the one we give away to people. This is the one people are going to want.
This would be like an amazing, like, coordinated April Fool's joke that romance authors could do for their editors. Like, they could all, like, on April 1st, email their editors and be like, okay, I've been thinking about puppets. Just like all of us do it on the same day.
Anyway, Raul and Katerina get together, figure out who the puppet master is, and that's that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
All right.
I love the 90s.
Well,
Sarah, go ahead.
I mean, I can't compete with puppets. This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Lumi Gummies. Consistent, mellow, and super delicious, Lumi Gummies are specifically designed to make you feel good, not stoned. Whether you're looking for an end-of-day distressor, a midday mood boost, or help getting the best sleep ever, Lumi Gummies has a strain that's right for you.
I would like to talk about the midday mood boost train that I'm on.
Yeah, do.
Right?
I've never tried that before.
Well, I feel like the weather has been quite strange here in the spring, and some days are just cloudy and it's like not nice. And all I want to do is like sort of like, I don't know, like do nothing in the middle of the day. And so it has been like a really like, sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I want to like keep going. I want to feel a little pep in my step. And so I think taking like a midday gummy sometimes makes me feel really happy. And then like I watch some TV and have a nice time.
Very nice. That sounds great. Definitely not during a work week. We're not supporting that.
It's a weekend activity.
Weekend activity. Well, if you would like to try out a midday mood boost with Lumi Gummies, you can do that right now because Lumi Gummies are available nationwide. Go to lumigummies.com. That's lumigummies.com. LUMI gummies.com and use the code FATEDMATES for 30% off your order. Code FATEDMATES at lumigummies.com. Thanks so much to Lumi Gummies for sponsoring this week's episode. But I'm going to talk about Harper Bliss's French Kissing, which is a very cool, interesting series of books that is billed as the L Word meets Emily in Paris in the text, although I think that's these came out in 2018 and 2019. So, and Emily Paris did not exist.
So rebranding
did not exist. But here's the deal. So this is a sapphic collection of books. There are 5 books in this series, and they are written like it's written like a television series in that it is multiple characters having multiple romances over the course of 5 books. So it's and the way that they're structured is this like French Kissing season 1, season 2, like all the way up to season 5, and then it's like episodic within. So anyway, there's the whole show centers around a PR firm in Paris, owned by Claire and Juliet, who have been best friends since they were teenagers or since they were like in college. And they do PR for like basically like crisis PR for like personalities or like PR for personalities. And Juliet's partner, Nadia, they've been together for a decade, and they're really having like Nadia is a surgeon, or Nadia runs a hospital in Paris, and they are Juliet and Nadia are having like a difficult time sort of trying to connect 10 years into their relationships. Like life is hard, right? Then they have an employee named Stephanie, and Steph is she's in her early 30s. She's very excited because she's just landed this like high profile politician client, Dominique, and all these characters. And then there's there's like a surgeon from the hospital who's also involved in these books. And we meet them all kind of at a dinner party. And it's just like all these lesbians, like it's like a world of lesbians in Paris, and some of them, as you were talking, Kate, I was thinking about like setting and this series is really set in Paris about Parisians. So like the Eiffel Tower is on the cover, but like I don't think I did not see the Eiffel Tower. Like in
I
this
think
book.
if you write a book about Paris, they are not going to let you not put the Eiffel Tower on.
Yeah, exactly. And what's cool, so a couple things. One, I'm like riveted by this. It is really soapy. Dominique, the new politician who is now working for the, who is now has hired the PR firm, ultimately over the course of these 5 books becomes elected president of France. And she's married and has children, but she falls in love with Steph. And then like there's like a whole like it's revealed to the public, and then it's sort of like, I mean, it's very dramatic. There's a lot of like
Very soapy. This sounds
delicious.
like delicious.
Like,
yeah.
the marriage is like complicated. They think about going out and finding a third. Like there's all kinds of like exciting, intriguey stuff in here. It feels very like a community. You know, like I think one of the challenges like with sapphic text, with sapphic romance often is like if you have hung out with like groups of lesbians, like there is a lot of like dramatic soapy stuff that happens like in these like and this is not a soft series. There's lots going on in this book. And it feels very authentic in a lot of ways, like in all different ways. I don't know if Harper Bliss is French, though I suspect she is. At least she's like, or at least she's comfortable in France and knows Paris. But anyway, over the course of these 5 books, lots of, you know, interesting things happens. It's so sexy. The sex is like top tier, like erotic writing. If you look at the audiobook version of this, the covers of the audiobooks are blazing hot. And then they have these like cartoon books in the ebook. These cartoon covers for the ebooks. And I just had a great time. I'm like 3 books in. There's like tons of stuff happening. It's very dramatic. So I would say like it's not a traditional romance in that like we're not at the end of every book getting an HEA, but over the course of the whole series, you are like these are very sort of big romantic stories.
And you think it's building to the HEA?
I do. I think the president and the PR person are for sure going to end up together, and like I think that's like a really big dramatic thing because it's all happening on like the national stage.
Yeah.
And I think these like Juliet and Nadia are going to figure it out. Juliet now wants to have a baby with her. Like, so there's, you know, there's lots happening. I'm really into it. Like I said, it's really sexy. It's really romantic. It's like Paris is the setting for this book in the sense that like, here are a bunch of people who are like going around to neighborhoods in Paris that like, I don't know, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm into it. And so it's the French Kissing series. And I'm going to read the whole thing.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, Kay, what else you got?
So I want to talk generally just about like an author, but I'll mention a specific book too. But if you are out there and you have not read Laura Floren's romances,
They're so good.
I would highly recommend. This is an author who really loves like France generally. Like some of her books are about Provence, some of her, you know, it's like she's written about France kind of extensively in her romances, but she has several that are set in Paris. And I think when you're reading her work, you can just tell you're in the hands of a writer who knows Paris like a native.
Yeah. I mean, to the point where the first time I read the chocolate books, flatly was like, oh, she must be French. Like it just, everything about it just reads as someone who like lives there or is a native. Yeah.
Yes. She's very like immersed in French culture. And so, you know, her like often, her like, I think in the chocolate series, all the heroine, at least in the first 3, all the heroines are American, but the heroes are French. And so like, if you want to read like a French hero, oh man, she's they're speaking French, and it's just great. They're making pastries and chocolates. Anyway, she's like, she's a really beautiful writer. Like her prose is really beautiful as well. And so when she writes about Paris, it's, it's like moving. She writes about it in a way that like you can feel the way she loves it. So really like wonderful descriptive writing. And she's also, I think, incredibly talented at writing emotion. I don't know, she really lets her characters, I guess this is a French feeling I have about her books, is like she really lets her characters like linger on how they are feeling in any given moment. So like I think that extends to like when her characters are eating something, typically that the hero has cooked for them, but also like in the sex scenes, like she just has a really beautiful way of writing, like giving herself the time to let her characters feel an emotion. And I think for me, like that's one of the most magnificent things about Paris is how many people there give themselves the time to experience things. If, like whether that's a cigarette or a cup of coffee or whatever. So I really love, so many of her books I really love. But a favorite of mine, which is like, you guys have this great way that you talk about books, like books that blooded you. One of mine is The Chocolate Kiss, which is between Philippe and Magali. Magali has like her aunts are in Paris. She grew up part of the time in the US and part of the time in France. He is a like world-renowned pastry chef, part of like the French elite, right? And she runs this little cafe, and he is moving one of his pastry shops to like the same little island she lives on in Paris. And so it's like a very classic setup for a romance. This sort of like enemies to lovers, but it, the setting makes the book feel so different in so many ways. Also picks up on like various fairy tale themes. And it has a scene in it where like Paris has a snow day. And it's like, it's one of the most memorable things I've ever read in a romance. It's so like intimate. It's such a beautiful picture of like human community. I love that book. It's really, if you haven't read it, it's worth picking up. So that's The Chocolate Kiss by Laura Florent.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to talk about Lauren Blakely has a series called From Paris with Love, and there are 2 books in the series. And a lot of people, like when you sort of like look for like, books set in Paris, romance books set in Paris, mention Wanderlust, which is the first book, but I'm actually going to talk about the second book, which is called Part-Time Lover. And in this book, we have Elise, and it starts off with her and a friend in Copenhagen, and they're on like a tour boat or something. And I mean, it's just like I don't know, like one of those beginnings where you're like, okay. And it all just felt very European to me, everybody. So she's on a tour boat with her friend, and they going past like private residences and homes, and there is a man, a gorgeous, perfect man, doing yoga naked on his patio as they go by.
Perfect.
And he is like basically like he just does it for like the kicks. Like basically knows knows that the tourists are gonna come by and wants to have them have a nice time. But his name is Christian, and he and Elise like sort of he catches her eye because she yells out like something like bravo or whatever. And he's like, meet me at 7 p.m. at the Jane. And she and her friend and her friend's like, are you actually going to do this? And she's like, I don't know, maybe. Like, I'm in another country. Like, why not just have a good time?
So she goes to, it doesn't work out because she goes to a bistro called Jane and he is at a club called The Jane. So it's just like one of these like missed connections. And then
Gosh, when in Europe, right?
exactly. So then it kind of picks up essentially a year later. And what happens is Christian is, it was like, this is when you're like only in romance fight. He was kind of a jerk when he was in college. His brother, like Eric, talked some shit, and he got his life together. And then he spent like the next 10 years in finance. And he like essentially has so much money that he retired at 28 and now he's 30. And he though does take like these contracting jobs all over Europe because he is a polyglot. He speaks like 5 or 6 languages. So he will go and help with translation. Fine. Well, where do you think he ends up? In Paris? And guess who works in Paris? Elise.
Oh my goodness.
And
I can't believe
what
it.
are the chances?
What are
right?
What are the
odds?
chances? She has seen his
Yeah.
naked body.
Yeah. Still has pictures on her phone every once in a while. She likes to look at them. Okay. So anyway, the thing that was really interesting to me though about this book though is like how quickly it turns into, so she's kind of, I thought was really fascinating. And it takes a while to like uncover this, but I don't think it's a big spoiler. She is only looking for a casual affair because she was married before and her husband was killed in a motorcycle accident. And you're like, God, that's terrible. Well, then she shows up at her husband's funeral and his other wife shows up.
Oh my God. His other wife?
Yes. He had a whole other fucking wife. And so and they had only been married for 6 months. It was like this whirlwind affair. They got married. And it turns out this man was like, and so she's like really burned by marriage. She's like, I'm not going to do this.
Pig.
Right? Exactly. Eduardo, why would you? Okay. And so then what happens is, okay, so then you go back to Christian and Eric is his brother. And Eric's wife leaves him, but she is trying to essentially like engineer essentially a takeover of the company. So she's like, Eric, I'm leaving you. And also I'm going to steal your company from you. And of course, the only way to save the company because of a grandfather's will is for Christian and Elise to get married. That's the only way.
Incredible. Incredible.
And you know what? I just think like Lauren Blakely is like one of those people that really knows how to just like keep a book moving, right? Like a real pro. And I was just like one of these books I'd read a while ago and then just kind of fell right back into rereading and was like, what a nice time I had. So anyway, that's
love a will that forces a marriage. Love it.
I mean, listen, what are you going to do? Let your evil sister-in-law take off with the company? Of course not.
No. Yeah.
Can't be done. So that's Part-Time Lover.
People are like, that's not legal.
Incredible.
Who cares?
It's France. Everything's legal. Okay, that's Part-Time Lover by Lauren Blakely.
I want to talk about Mia Asher's Love Me in the Dark, which is, again, you said earlier, Kate, that Kara was doing some really like interesting things before like they became things we sometimes expect. And I think I think this book is a good example of Mia Asher doing that exact thing. So Love Me in the Dark is about Valentina, who is married to a man named William, and their marriage is a mess. Like, he is really distant. She wants to have children. He's sort of not that interested in that as a concept. They live in Greenwich, Connecticut. They're like, it's very sort of, they have a very particular kind of like poised, presentable life together, and it is not good. And they've sort of come to a place where they feel like they have to, it's a mess. She's told him a number of times, and he says, all right, well, why don't we go to Paris and try to fix it? Like, we'll take ourselves away and we'll go to Paris. And she's like, okay. She sort of puts together this whole trip to Paris where they're going to stay in an apartment and like find themselves and each other again. And William is an asshole and doesn't show. Like, he's like, actually work, actually this. Like, why don't you just go without me? So
I hope there's a Frenchman on the other side of this.
So she goes without him. and she's like living in this apartment, and she's sort of like a wreck about just everything. And there is an artist who lives upstairs.
An artist,
and he's
of
like
course.
tattooed and like French and beautiful, and like probably does yoga naked on the balcony.
Yeah.
I mean, the type.
Yeah.
The type.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, why don't we like go out? Why don't, there's a nightclub downstairs. Why don't we go dancing? Why don't we like, and they have this like kind of wild kiss. And then she's like, I'm married. And he's like, okay, well, then we'll be neighbors. And they fall so hard for each other. But of course, like, this looming thing, like she is married. She's married. She's going, ultimately, when her lease is up, she's going back, or lease, like when her time is up, she's going back to her like life in Connecticut as a Stepford wife, right? And she like, but these two are like soulmates. They are so drawn to each other, and it is so romantic. And they don't sleep together. Because he's like, if we do this, like, I'll never be able to let you go. And there are these moments where, there's like one moment where he's just like, all I want is for there to have been a different life here. Like for literally anything where we could be together. Like he's very honest they're kind of like really honest about their feelings, but like there's this thing between them. Marriage. And then the husband shows up and is like, I'm here. I love you. Let me take you home. And they like leave without her saying goodbye to Sebastian. Like she goes to his apartment and he's not there, and it's very dramatic. And this is like 2/3 of the way through the book. This happens. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? Because there's still, when you're reading and there's like runway in the book and you're like, I don't understand, like we're about to take a turn. Is William going to be a decent man? No, William is not going to be a decent man. Like they get back, it's worse than it was before. Like her marriage is like a shambles, but like she's now left Sebastian, right? Like, and left him in this kind of like horrible way. Like neither of them like have had the closure that they needed. He's a wreck. I mean, like, oh, it's so emotional. It's so dramatic. And ultimately, he's like, I'm going to America to find her. And then you're like, wait, is this a good idea? And it's so, I'm not going to tell you like how it all ends because it is so like twisty turny in the end. But it is a great book. It is really, really a fun read. I mean, it's very emotional, but very fun read. I mean, it's that sort of like artist Frenchman. He's your upstairs neighbor in Paris. But also like Jen's been reading a lot of cheating books. Like,
yeah, right. That's interesting.
Yeah. Mia sort of threads this needle where she's like, they don't fuck. Right. But like,
yeah,
these two fully cheat. Like they are in it with each other while she is in Paris. And it is very emotional.
Okay. I'm going to have to get it.
Yeah. It's very emotional. So that's Mia Asher's Love Me in the Dark.
I'm sure we all have like there is like one more I just wanted to like name drop, right? Which is, I'm sure there's lots that we could. A book that I thought was actually more about the winemaking regions of France is called Grape Juice by Eliza Dumais. This is a book I worked on for 831 Stories. And I just think if you are at all interested in like really in setting, like the description of these vineyards and like the work of making wine it's really extraordinary. I thought this book, like the writing is just spectacular. And so what happens is Alice is a New Yorker and she works for a wine distributor, and her boss essentially sends her to France for the summer to sort of like learn more about winemaking so that she can like be, just like sort of like her knowledge about this can expand. And she meets all of these like people kind of from all over Europe who are working there for their own reasons. And then she falls in love with Henri, who is, I think, like kind of like coming out of a bad like relationship himself. And it's just like a really interesting book about self-discovery, but it's really a book about about wine. And it's just luscious. I don't know, like the writing of this was really something else, I thought. So that's Grape Juice by Eliza Dumaine.
Cool. Love that word.
Yeah.
Luscious.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's also, if you're interested in watching like two hot people do finger banging on the top of the Eiffel Tower.
I mean, sure, we got to
then
mention.
You cannot miss A Caribbean Heiress in Paris by our other friend, Adriana Herrera.
Yeah.
Another Adriana Anders,
Yes.
lives in France and has written
a couple
of books.
Yeah.
Including one that I put on the best of the year list about, what's that? It's
We'll
the
Always Have
Christmas
Paris,
one.
right.
We'll Always Have Paris, which is
also like a hot, surly artist or whatever in the building.
Roommate or not roommate, neighbor in Paris on the like sort of final Christmas Eve before a woman returns back to America to face her sad, boring existence.
I think, we didn't mention a lot of historicals, but I think there are a lot of historicals where Paris is seen. I mean, like, right, like Lord of Scoundrels, like Ian Mackenzie. You know what I mean? Like where Paris is almost like the escape from the rigidity of the aristocracy in England, and therefore you can just like go there and be like wild and free and do whatever. But like you're gonna, if you're gonna be like, then for real, you got to go back to England and keep it tight.
Yeah, that in the one Wallflowers book, I think it's is it Scandal in Spring where Annabelle and Simon, that's where they go for their honeymoon, I think. And it's like,
yeah, it's scandalous.
Everything's different there.
Yeah. And I think like those can be really fun as a way of just like kind of saying like, here's someone who, it's like a way to physically represent that someone is like outside of society in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're out there, you're going to the puppet theater. You're seeing things.
Right. I mean, it bears saying that as much as we always talk about A Caribbean Heiress in Paris, all of that series is set in Paris because as Adriana said, when she came here to Fated Mates, and as she says often, like when she decided she wanted to write a historical, she was looking for places where Dominicans existed, and the World's Fair
a
very cool world of Latin America kind of arrived at that World's Fair. So it's interesting. Historical Paris is interesting. It is always like, I got my dresses from Paris.
Right. Like Paris is like
the wigs came from Paris.
Yes, right. It's like the way Paris exists in historical is often, it's like a different kind of like romantic, aspirational, kind of thing. But we're going to be doing Lord Ian Mackenzie soon, so I did not.
Yeah. Well, and you often do French characters really hold a lot of interesting weight in historicals, right? Like,
yes,
your French modiste.
Yes,
it's like the modiste on Bond Street is always French. She's never like just some
lady from Somerset or whatever.
Exactly. And then there's like the arrogant Frenchman who sort of wanders through a book, but France has a real mystique.
Yeah. Or like it's something you survived. I mean, like famously, right? Like everybody in the Regency that went off to fight. You know what I mean? Think about
there's that France's enemy.
Yeah. So I mean, I was thinking about like the Spy Master's Lady. I mean, like, so there's a lot of like really interesting ways that like in historical France exists.
And often there's like they're in those old historicals, like the kind of country set historicals in the vein of what's her name? Oh my God. The famous Regency. Why am I drawing a whole blank?
Are you talking about
Georgette Heyer? That's who I'm talking about.
I was gonna be like, are you talking about Georgette Heyer?
Yeah, in the vein of Heyer, like she sort of birthed a group of like, this wealthy English, like they're sort of like down on their luck Frenchmen who survived the revolution, and then now they escaped the guillotine, and now they're like here. So interesting.
Speaking of the guillotine. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know we love the guillotine here.
And we're out of time for Kate to talk about the guillotine.
Bum, bum, bum. Next time on Fated Mates.
Next time on Fated Mates.
We'll do a whole episode about the guillotine.
This podcast is free, and also we want to stay out of jail, though. So we're going to continue on.
Anyway, so that is France.
That is France in a nutshell.
You don't need to know anything more than what you learned here today.
Yeah. We've nailed it.
One thing I do want to say about France, about French characters, is on the cover of that Mia Asher book, he is smoking a cigarette. And I do think and I do think French characters can get away with smoking in romance.
I think that's
true. Yeah.
I talk about
if you
the
put an
smoking
American,
a lot.
like an American smoking, forget it.
In the Paris match, there's like a lot of smoking, and Layla is a physician.
Doctor.
And she's like,
he's always like, what is going on here?
But I have to say, like, the first time my husband and I went to Paris together, I remember he talked about the cigarettes all the time. He's like, I mean, I really want to ask somebody about their.
Please don't.
Please don't. Let's just let that go. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to return to the guillotine for a minute. In A Bloomy Head by J. Winifred Butterworth, the mother essentially was like lived through the French Revolution, and the whole entire like prologue is like the mother's escape from France. Essentially, like the things she saw out the window. And I honestly thought it was like, it's such a banger of a like opening in terms of like setting the stage for a kind of like historical trauma that a character like it has, and then it filters down through like the family. And they don't know that story like we the readers do. And anyway, if there's some guillotine action, I'm just saying.
If you're looking for a guillotine book.
If you're looking for a guillotine, that's it. A Bloomy Head. So, I mean, I just felt compelled to say it. I'm sorry. It wasn't on my.
I think it's important.
It wasn't a plan. The rest of the book takes place in England, where the guillotine is not. But there is. I can give you a guillotine on page in a romance. I can. Romance is really, truly unmatched.
Yeah, it's got everything.
All right. Well.
Thank you for having me.
We love you so much. We're always so happy to have you on. You know, you can come anytime.
Thank you.
Tell us where listeners can find you, Kate Clayborn.
Well, right now you can find an echo of me in the Paris match, which is out right now in ebook and print and audio. You can find me at my website, kateclayborn.com, or on Instagram or Threads at kateclayborn.author.
Yay. Well, we love you. We think
love
you're
you
great.
Guys too.
If we have
Thank
Fated
you.
Mates live ever again, Kate will probably be there too, because we make her come. And
I always have to play the straight man to you too.
Everybody loves it. Not for Kate. Everybody know. I think people may have forgotten that when we say not for Jen or not for Sarah, it really
started out as not for Kate.
It's not for Kate.
Puppets.
But I don't think we talked about puppets. Probably are not for Kate. That book's so weird that maybe it is.
I don't know.
It's for Kate in a sense of like
it's an artifact of something.
Weird. I don't think we talked about anything today that's not for Kate, though.
I mean, the naked yoga is really
that's
right
not
there. For Kate.
That's not a person you'd be interested in.
No, I would no.
You'd stay far away from that.
I would say, who does he think he is?
What kind
doesn't he have a sense of
Put
decorum?
Some pants on. Okay, well, that is that. Everybody, I'm Sarah McLean. I'm here with my friends Jen Prokop and Kate Clayborn. We are Fated Mates. You can listen to us every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us online at fatedmates.net, where you'll find a full list of all of the books that we talked about today and other cool stuff that Jen decides you need to know about in show notes. You can click on episodes and find all of the show notes there. Also, you can find us online at Threads and Instagram at Fated Mates Pod, and on Blue Sky at Fated Mates. If you want to spend more time talking about Paris or anything else about romance, you can join the Discord, which you access by becoming a member of our Patreon. Learn more about that at fatedmates.net/Patreon. And we love you all. We hope you're flying to Paris, at least in your dreams.